23 Arte, este ano celebrado cá na Escola Superior de Educação, é o Encontro Internacional de Arte e Tecnologia, que celebra precisamente este encontro entre arte, ciência e tecnologia, já na 23ª edição, mas isto começou já há mais de 30 anos, hoje com a parceria do Media Lab da Universidade Federal de Goiás e da Morumbi de São Paulo. Nesta edição que estamos a realizar, não é, com uma equipa alargada e com o apoio também do ID+, da Universidade de Aveiro, com a parceria também da ESMAD e da EmMeio, trouxemos convidados para enaltecerem também a agenda daqui do evento, neste caso a Kathy High e o Dave Pelling. Nesta edição em particular, que tinha um título que era um bocadinho provocador, porque era um termo que foi cunhado de propósito para a edição do Arte deste ano, que era o ecotecnoceno. Talvez por essa ambiguidade e abrangência também do tema, tivemos a participação de inúmeros países e tivemos também a necessidade de estender um bocadinho a variedade da programação que fazíamos. O formato de workshops, o formato de Artist Talk, que muitas vezes complementa e é bom para complementar a exposição presencial, porque os artistas que vêm, e que neste caso temos mais de 20 artistas a expor nos espaços da Galeria do Desenvolvedor e nos corredores, que foram preparados para acolher a exposição. Foi um desafio, como podem imaginar, fazer uma exposição de arte e tecnologia numa escola, não é? No meio de corredores, inventando inclusive sistemas elétricos e iluminação que não existia anteriormente. E essa abrangência de temáticas muitas vezes é preciso ser explicada e por isso o formato de Artist Talk garante que as pessoas possam ter um bocadinho para apresentar e partilhar com outros, às vezes a forma como as obras são feitas e como chegam ali, como aparecem.
So my name is Kathy High and I come from New York State, a little bit north of New York City. I teach at an institute called Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. It's one of the oldest engineering schools in the US, but it also has an incredibly robust arts department. So I'm an artist. I'm very interested in art and science and have been working in this field since the beginning of the 2000s. I work primarily with microbes at this point, although I've also worked with lab animals as well in my research. So I've done a lot of different projects. A lot of them are around immunology. A lot of them are also looking at the human gut microbe and what is happening with our guts. So that leads me to working sometimes with fecal matter and also decay and these kinds of things. So I'm interested in these transitional states of decay, life, into death. So I was lucky enough to have an invitation from Marie Manuela Lopez, who is an old friend and dear to me, and she said, would you come and do a keynote? And I said, yes, this sounds like a very interesting conference, which I've never attended. So I'm very happy to be here. And this is my first time in Porto, so I'm excited to see the city. It's super beautiful. And I'm talking about a lot of the issues that I just mentioned. I'm walking through some of the practices that we do with this not-for-profit group, the NGO, it's called the Sanctuary for Independent Media. So it started by a radical media group. And then I get into Nature Lab, which is the urban environmental education center where we have the biolaboratory, community biolaboratory and other things. So I'll be talking about that a little bit. And then I'll also go into my own artwork, which spans, I think most of what I'm focusing on is the work with the human gut microbiome and the different kinds of projects that I've created from this. I've realized that a lot of my work, whether I knew it or not, over the last 25 years has been around issues around death and dying. And so I'm very interested in looking at these kinds of transformational processes, material processes that happens with bodies. When we die, how can we kind of not be buried in with a preserved body, but let ourselves kind of decay and become part of the earth again. So there are literally processes about this that I'm looking into at this point in time, and I'll be talking about that too. It's really funny. I know it sounds really dark and really like weird, but it's actually, a lot of it is really humorous because I use humor quite a bit in my work too.
I'm Dave Paling, Associate Professor at Staffordshire University in the UK, the Midlands. It's not a particularly well-known spot in the UK. It's between Birmingham and Manchester, if that gives you some idea of where I am. I've been teaching and studying there since 2001 actually, so I've been a long-time member of that faculty in the UK. I come from the background of popular music, really, playing in bands, guitar, bass and that kind of thing before I went into academia. Since moving into academia, I've got more interested in more experimental forms of music composition, so computer music, electroacoustic music, all the non-popular forms of music, if you like. Yeah, but on top of that, I've coupled that with an interest in visuals and how you can build a relationship between sound and image more closely. And that is something I kind of explored a little bit in the popular music days, with just having visuals as a backdrop for the band, basically. But it's become more of an academic pursuit recently. So I'll be taking the audience through a little bit through my career and how it's led to where I am currently. But also the theory behind what I'm doing and how you can take things from experimental forms of music and apply them to experimental visuals and vice versa. James performs the music with his electronic software and I improvise the visuals as a separate process to that. So the music's not, or the application is not generating the visuals. James's application is not generating the visuals. My application, which is a separate process, is generating the visuals. But I do take a feed from James's audio output and drive some of the parameters in the visuals from that. So I guess there's two key processes. There's what I'd call parametric mapping, where sound amplitude mostly determines certain values of the visual output. But also there's a lot of interpretation and improvisation from myself based on what I'm hearing and my artistic reinterpretation of the sound. Yeah, so there's a mechanical side of it, if you like, technological side, but there's also an artistic, improvisational aspect to it as well.
Estes eventos são eventos que são académicos e por isso têm um pendor formativo muito relevante. Nós fazemos isto não é para partilhar só entre pares também. Nós temos pessoas que são professores há 30 anos, mas também temos jovens que estão a fazer mestrado, por exemplo, que estão a iniciar uma carreira de investigação, que têm esse momento de se expor, não é? De se mostrar perante outros, com já algumas experiências mais, se calhar, completas. E esse lado formativo para nós é fundamental, acho que é a razão de ser, de se fazerem estes encontros verdadeiramente.